This is FAB NZS3B. It's quite interesting lock with a very distinct keyway shape and easily recognizable key. The FAB NZS3 family contains several models. FAB NZS3A is a sort of WRO format, B model is for secondary locks, C model is for cars, and E model was for containers and cabinets. Although out of production, it can still be found both new and second hand. The lock contains 3 rows of pins that are 120 degrees apart, and each row contains 4 pins. Since the bitting of each row is different, the key has to be inserted with a proper orientation. Looking at the keyway, you can see that it's asymmetrical. This asymmetry, along with the protrusions on 2 blades of the key, ensure that the key can be extracted only when turned full 360 degrees. The locking system that FAB NZS3 uses is quite unique. The lock core has at its back 3 rounded pins, each controlled by 1 pin stack. These pins sit in dimples in the Bible backplate and prevent turning of the core without a proper key inserted. When the correct key is inserted, the rounded pins can be pushed into the core, allowing the core to rotate. There are 3 spring-loaded metal bars that support these rounded pins, and the interaction of the bars with key pins determines whether the bar can move, allowing the pin to be pushed into the core or not. As you can see, each key pin has a thin spool-like part, and the metal bar can fully move only when all 4 pins in its row are pushed in enough for this thin part to be in the metal bar hole. Also note that there are only 3 types of pins, corresponding to the 3 cut depths in the key. The middle cut pin most closely corresponds to the standard driver pin in the conventional pin tumbler locks, while the min cut and max cuts have a spooled section. The min cut pin should behave like a spool, while the max cut pin spool section only engages when the pin is overset, resembling a torpedo key pin behavior. Unfortunately, the construction of this lock is such that it can't be disassembled non-destructively. The backplate is always crimped to the Bible, then the sleeve around the core holding the pin springs is also crimped to the core, and finally the metal bars can't be removed without prying off the keyway protection, a metal sandwich containing the anti-drill plate. If you are interested in the process of gutting it, in the description there will be a link to my previous video showing the gutting of this lock. Picking wise, this lock has quite unique feedback that does take a bit to get used to. Also, thanks to the key pin tip shape, if the pick tip is not well centered on the key pin, either the pick gets pinched between the key pin and the keyway, or part of a pick tip rests on the keyway and can't move. If not recognized, a bent pick could be the end result. Pins sometimes have a ping-pong tendency, but that is a sign to go ahead and find another pin to set. Correctly set pins provide nice jiggle dust feedback, so you should not have much trouble with pin state identification. When close to open, usually a noticeable core rotation occurs, but if not stopped early, the couple of the last pins will bind very hard, and then it's very hard to set them without dropping some of the previously set pins. Anyway, enough of theory, and let's see the lock in action. This is FAB NZS3 Model B, which is used for secondary locks on the door. As you can see, the lock works. And what's interesting is that each blade of the key has a different bitting. Also, you can see that there are only 3 cut depths. And well, let's see how the picking goes. So I'm going to start on the upper left side. Here each row of the pins have its own blocking mechanism, so these well, they don't isolate all that much, so still have to go back and forth. Also, once you get used to the feedback, it's not all that bad. Although sometimes the log has a nasty habit of ping-ponging. And most of the time it just means that you have to try setting another pin. Okay, so we seem to have the upper right side all set. Okay, small core movement. The bottom part seems to be set too. Okay, so now comes the fun part. Come on. Oh, we seem to have dropped something. No. Looks like everything is okay. So let's carry on. Come on. Oh. Oh boy. Can it be? Okay, we are open. So, to show it's really picked, it's best to take a look here. I'm not going to rotate all the 120 degrees because it would lock in another position, but as you can see, the lock is picked. So here you can see the lock isn't possible to gut without destroying it or damaging it. So At least you can see it was not tampered with. Well, maybe you can see a bit of a keyway, but the light isn't all that great. So, and here, let's see that the key still works. So that's all for FAB NZS3. Thanks for watching. Bye.